you, I'd like to introduce Afnan.
I'm from Bolivia originally. I did my studies in Belgium. Well, first in the Netherlands and then in Belgium, and now I'm working in Belgium for this university, coordinating some research projects and also, implementing my own research. Uh, Today, I wanted to introduce a methodology which we are promoting in my department, which is related to citizen science. Have you heard about citizen science?
I think citizen science is research that involves public citizen.
Okay, that's a good answer.
I think it's a process where the citizens themselves engage in data collection, scientific activities.
Okay. Allow me to introduce the Department of Water and Climate from the Free University of Brussels. We have four research groups, one specializing in glaciology, the study of glaciers, and how these are linked to water management, how are these under pressure in the current climate scenarios and climate change dynamics. The second research group is focused on climate change. The third one is on surface water. It's the research group that we are representing today. And the last one, it's about groundwater. It's studying the dynamics of the water underground. Yep, the head of the department is Professor Anne van Griensven. She's actually a very good professor involved in many different projects, and she's the chairholder of the UNESCO Chair on Open Science and Education. So she's been promoting many of these activities linked to citizen science. And also she's the chairholder of the AXA Researcher on Water Quality and Global Change. So the activities we are doing today on our side are sponsored and promoted by these two chairs. And this is our research group. It's very international. Huh? You can see that there's people from Europe, from Asia, many from Africa, North America, and South America. Oh, it should be Ecuador now here. And for some reason, they didn't want to put my picture in the. I didn't behave very well, I guess. Discussion. Have you heard about IWRM, Integrated Water Resources Management?
I think is where you bring all components, all entities that depend on water, so that we can be able to conserve. In this, I mean, you bring in the community. You also bring in other institutions like the research, academia, and the government. So generally, we conserve water from that.
Your answer was very good because it's not really yeah, it's really about connecting people in the management of water because um, managing water tend to be very difficult. If you can you see this image here? We usually implement integrated water resources management at the river basin scale. The river basin is like a funnel. Imagine a funnel, and every drop that comes from the rain, it will turn into streams, rivers, and it will have one single output, one single outlet. So all this area is connecting all the water from the rain, turning into streams, turning into rivers, and draining in one unique river into the oceans or into the lakes. We try to implement the management at this scale because if we build a dam in the upper part of the river basin, other people in the lower part of the river basin will be impacted. So it's important that we try to connect all the different people from the river basin in the management. If we pollute the water in the upper part of the river basin, of course it will be people affected in the lower part. And then we can try to understand how we are related to water. So basically we have a community. We are connected to the water resources, to the rivers. the people of the communities are mainly directed to the activities shaping the quality and the allocation of water. So it's very important that we promote the participation in a way that we can influence the decisions on the water resources. The bigger challenge we have now is that climate change is also influencing the water balances. So it's raining less or raining more in different parts of the year. And then we have droughts, more intensified droughts or floods. So it's important that we understand that how is the behavior of the water resources in order to make and implement a better management. So what Violet was saying at the beginning, we want to try to implement community-based research. And why this? Because in the past, we follow models in which the government had the entire role of managing the resources. And this model actually failed. Because if at the government level we decide, okay, in this wetland, they have to do these things in order to make it, to improve the conservation. And they are not that, discussing this with the people who lives in the wetland. It's not going to be very useful. Huh? Maybe they have many ideas that are not really realistic for the knowledge and the capacities of the local level. Huh? So it's very important that the decisions have to include the local participation in order to have a more meaningful and effective decision making. And another reason for this integration of knowledge involving different actors, organizations, is the fact that each organization usually tend to have their own agendas. And it's difficult to manage water if we don't integrate these different forms of knowledge. For instance, for an economist, probably the best idea to improve the management of water, it will be related to economic incentives, or charging more for water, or penalties, stuff like that, fines, and that's the way economists work. But then if we talk with a lawyer probably will talk about laws and regulations. And then if we talk about with an engineer, probably an engineer will think about, oh no, it's infrastructure. If we build better infrastructure, we solve the problem. But actually, to have an integrated way to solve these problems, we need to find all the different angles in which we can collaborate and find more sustainable solutions for the problems of water. Usually when we talk about water quality, who is responsible for doing this? Who is usually measuring the quality of water? Do you know? Here in Kenya, who is implementing this?
In non-governmental organizations and private entities.
And that is the reality around the world. Usually, it's formal organizations with the training and the capacities for the laboratory capacities to assess the health of water, the quality. Many times we talk about indicators of water quality that are just numbers without meaning. And then if we just see the numbers, it doesn't mean anything. It's very useless. And I remember Violet in the conference a few weeks ago. She was telling these very important researchers, hey, don't bring this funny research that is not useful. Huh? Then it's very important that we learn together to use this information and how we can actually make it useful for us. And the last aspect is about data. Data is important, huh? But then combined with these other elements, it makes it more meaningful to implement citizen science. And we can use this methodology for data collection, environmental literacy, democratization and justice, and strengthening environmental governance systems. I will show you a case study here in Kenya. We are implementing a project in Lake Victoria in the Yala River Basin. Do you know where the Yala River Basin is?
A participative governance way of doing things, especially within the communities along the Athi River Basin. And I can deeply relate to what you're doing. Now, my question comes now. For how long are you going to do that with the community around? Do you have a time frame? Because within the project we are in, we are looking at a timeless way of doing things so that the community can be able to own whatever things that are being thrown to them.
Now our plan is to upscale it to the river basin level to better understand the dynamics at the river basin because we don't have the information. And then if we can learn where it's more polluted, maybe it can give us information of where policies should be directed to control or to have stricter measures on agriculture, on fertilizers, industry, urban settlements. So that information can really help us understand where is the pollution coming from and what we can do to start implementing actions to reduce the problem of contamination.
I'd like you to mention some of the challenges that you are facing to achieve the goals that you want to achieve.
We really rely on external funding to to buy the kits and to have the methodologies for people monitoring. Yeah, I think is that mainly that. In our experience, to be honest, working with the high schools has been very easy because they were very happy to do it. And if you have also good teachers like engaged, the teachers were like really happy to contribute to the projects. And then they're using the project not just as an activity they have to do, but they really embrace it. It's part now of the school of the activities, and I think we were lucky to find the right people as well to get involved. So it was very very good.
I have a question. You mentioned about the kids, and you've stayed for a year. Are these kids available in Kenya, or did you have to come with them from where you came from?
Well, they're all imported, but they were a little bit more complicated. Let's say like the methodologies demands more techniques, but yeah, they're usually brought to the country. But now we're using some kits that are standardized by UNEP. So these are used for implementing citizen science monitoring in many countries around the world.
How do you plan to disseminate the information? Because you're working with schools, and drinking water is something that is very important also to the community. So how are you disseminating this information to the entire community? Yeah.
Why we should monitor this or this wetland or a water source? So the projects shouldn't be just aiming monitoring for the mere purpose of monitoring. That's useless. So maybe it's something that before establishing any kind of monitoring effort, we should talk about it. And then you raise the question about drinking water. So maybe we should monitor it to be aware of the chemical characteristics of this water and ensure it's safe for public consumption.
Since you are saying these things like a science and you are talking about mostly it's chemistry, are we talking about dealing with chemicals to chemicals, or are we dealing even with naturally improving the quality of the water?
We are more focused on developing or trying to get information. So try to understand what is happening and what's the status. But it will be very nice if with that information we can do something about it. If we have very good water quality here at the wetland, it's also very important information because it's telling us that this area should be largely protected because it's producing high quality water standards for other activities downstream. So it can be a very important information to discuss with the rest of the communities and the rest of the river basin.
You're doing a good job. Congratulations. I really love your work. I've done some monitoring here on macroinvertebrates, and that is citizen science. And pollution was one of the arising matters that have caused decline in the number of the macroinvertebrates at Ondiri Wetland. But good job.
Be curious about your own environment.
I don't know if you have encountered this. There are areas where there are strong spiritual beliefs about their water sources. How do you handle that with citizen science? Because it has been a bit of a hurdle to overcome.
I think there's no one rule, but we need to find paths to connect among the community to make it work. Maybe you want to come a bit closer because
Yeah,
we will
come
show these
closer, please.
tiny devices.
Yeah,
So
come
it's
closer.
kind of,
So actually,
or we go here in the middle.
yeah. Oh yeah, we can come in the middle because we now don't need the screen. Yeah? You need your, yeah.
This water, I got it from the river over there. And when you see it, what do you think about it? It's clear, right? And do you think you can drink it? What do you think can you use it for? And right now, yeah, okay, we can see it. We think that we can drink it, but we actually don't know. We are not actually sure what is in this water. So that is where these things come in. When you look at this, you can see that, oh, it's just like a small plastic tube. And these small plastic tubes allow us to determine what's in the water. And these ones, they allow us to measure phosphates and nitrates. So what are phosphates and nitrates? Phosphates and nitrates are common components of fertilizers or pesticides, which we mostly know that we use for agriculture. And you have to rinse it with the water that you want to test. So rinse it 3 times, so pour it, and then you can pour it out here.
And you rinse it a few times just to make sure the content is homogeneous. If it's too much, you can just throw it back. And maybe we can also.
And then release it once. There we go. Now all the water is in, and then you shake it for it to react. We call a turbidity tube, and it basically tells us how clear our water is, how much sunlight can pass through water surface, and you can see there are many numbers, and it starts from the higher numbers, and as you go up, there is a low number. And at the bottom, you can see that there is a cross. So, yeah. Now it's done. And you can see it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it. And then we'll use it.
So it's actually a very good quality because she can still see it at the highest level. So it's a very good quality in terms of that indicator.
Let's say between these two colors, I think that it matches. So the value will be between 0.1 and 0.2 milligrams per liter.
Wait, mix it, and if the compound is within the sample, you will see a happy face, which means that you can already record that value, and that information will give you pH, total dissolved solids. From the chemical and physical perspective, the water is safe. But from the microbiological perspective, we don't know. I will highly suggest to boil the water if you have good indication of physical chemical values,
but then we don't know about the microbiological content. But maybe it's something that also it can also include it in the citizen science project, huh?
For demonstration. But let's say you have a project, you can make your own group to upload the water quality data that you will be getting from these projects from Freshwater Watch. And to start, you can add the site name.
Ondiri, swamp.
Yeah. So let's say I will type Ondiri swamp.
Yeah.
Add the total number of participants. Let's say we are around 35. Just guessing. And then you have the date. Now it's June 24th, Tuesday, and the sampling time. So we are at the wetland, so let's say wetland. And next, you want to select the main land use within 50 meters. This one, you can choose between urban residential, rural residential, industrial, commercial. You have urban green space. Talks about the litter. So can you see any litter around? I think if we look around, there is no litter. And then you are too normal.
Renzo, si ponemos una silla, ¿va a salir mejor?